Next up will be Genesis chapter 9.
And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, even as the green herb have I given you all things.
God's giving a charge to Noah. Right? It says God blessed Noah and his sons and said, Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Right, we heard a similar instruction in chapter 1, right, when God told Adam and Eve to replenish the earth, right, which we concluded then, which you can kind of see a parallel here, that there had been something on earth before them. We don't know what it was because it's not written about, but he told them to replenish the earth. Right, well now here we know that there was the people here before the flood, and now people have been wiped off with the flood. So now God tells Noah and his sons, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. All right, so you're going to start all over again. We're going to make new people, and now we're going to go from here and replenish the earth. And further, in verse 2, it says all these animals and birds and everything that you saved, they're going to be subject to you. Right, you're going to have the kind of dominion over them, kind of similar to when Adam and Eve were starting out, right? He gave them dominion over all the animals, right? So it's the same kind of thing here. He says the animals are going to, he says they'll be like afraid of you, right? Because man is the highest form of life on earth, the people, more so than any of the animals, okay? I mean, animals are important, but the people are the most important, all right? So he says you're going to have dominion over them, all right? And in 3 it says, every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you, right? As well as the green herb. So, in other words, you'll eat a balanced diet, if you will, right? You have animals for meat, and then you have the greens that grow out of the ground. So you put it together, and you have a nice meal, okay, with a salad and an entree.
But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, at the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, for in the image of God made he man. And you, be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein.
Okay, here's kind of an exception being made, right? Where he was saying that go ahead and feel free to eat of any of the animals and so forth, right? But for whatever reason, right, God said don't go eating ones that have like their blood still in them, all right? Because that's, first of all, it's kind of icky, but secondly, yeah, he says that's not that's not what I want you to do, right? So I guess if they would kill an animal, they would prepare it appropriately, right? Don't go eating it with their blood still in it, right? That's not how it's going to work, all right? So that's in verse 4, all right? But now in verse 5, all right, it's even for whatever reason now it's saying that I don't want you killing other people, right? Because the lifeblood is in people, and we've seen enough of that killing stuff, all right? With this, so that he's putting it right here that's not how you should be living, right? I don't want you killing people, and whether to eat or for any reason, right? And further in 6 it says, Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed, from the image of God made he man. Now, if you read that, this is what we refer to as an eye for an eye, okay? The idea that if you do something to somebody, then the same thing should be done to you. So including if you kill somebody, that you should be killed too, all right? This was an eye for an eye. Now, this is the Old Testament teaching, right? And people did live this way at that time, all right? And so really, if you wanted to pull this out and apply it to today, somebody who believes in what's called capital punishment would look at this, all right, and say, all right, if you're a murderer, then you should be killed, all right? And so again, without necessarily going too far down that path, you could use this verse to say, well, that's capital punishment, all right? And now I would say that this doesn't necessarily have any bearing on that because we don't believe that the Old Testament precepts are still in place, all right? When Jesus came, it says it used to be an eye for an eye, but I tell you, love your enemies and all that, all right? So therefore, this doesn't mean that, all right? So I wouldn't pull this out and say, if I was going to participate in the capital punishment discussion and say, oh, here, see, it says in verse 6 that you should do that, right? That it doesn't apply, okay? It doesn't apply in this case. all right? But at this time, that's the way it was being set up, as a disincentive to killing. It says if you kill, you'll be killed. So therefore, don't kill. All right? But instead, go be fruitful and multiply. All right? Don't take people away. Don't kill people. Make new people. All right? We want to multiply the earth. We don't want to be cutting it down by killing people. We want to be more people, not less.
And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him, saying, And I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you, and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you, from all that go out of the ark to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth.
See, recognizing that what these people had been through, and again, perhaps that this conversation, makes some sense in that context, right? It's hard for us to really put ourselves in their place, where you say that there are 8 people, we're the only ones saved, all right? And so here they're put on the ark, rain comes down, floods come, everybody drowns. Now we come out, we're the only people left, right? It had to be kind of an odd, eerie feeling, right, to be in that position, but then also thinking, well, gee, now, if we mess up, is God going to do this to us, or is He going to do it to our children, or are we going to have some other flood or some other natural catastrophe or disaster here when we step out of line, right? You have to be wondering that, right? Because this seems like a very angry kind of God here, right? That's angry enough to destroy people, all right? So they had to be wondering, well, gee, that was, I'm glad it wasn't us, but maybe the next time it will be us, all right? So I think that's why God is now having this conversation with them, all right? It says that, behold, I'm going to establish a covenant with you, okay? An agreement, almost like a contract, all right? That I'm not going to do this again, right? So I want you to be, feel at ease living on earth, not that, any day I'm going to just smite you all again, all right? But rather that, you live your life and just try to, live a good life, as I'm going to be describing to you, all right? But now it says, I'm going to establish my covenant, and with every living creature, including the fowls and the beasts. And 11 is, I'll establish my covenant that neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, right? So there's never going to be another flood to destroy the earth, right? So he's telling them this and establishing a covenant or a contract to say that I'm not going to do this again, right? So this was a one-time deal, and don't expect to see this happen again.
And God said, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth. And it shall come to pass, when I bring a cloud over the earth, that the bow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the bow shall be in the cloud, and I will look upon it, that I may remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, This is the token of the covenant which I have established between me and all flesh that is upon the earth.
So what did God do to kind of illustrate what the covenant was? A rainbow, okay? That you kind of learn that story when you learn the Noah story when you're in Sunday school, right? Talking about the rainbow. All right, well, here it is. In 12, it says, This is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature. In 13, that says, I set my bow in the cloud, right? And it's the rainbow, right? So I'm going to put a rainbow in the cloud that's going to be the token of the covenant. So basically, whenever you look there and you see that, you're going to remember that that's why it's there, and that's what it means, that we're going to see a flood like this on the earth again, right? And as we come down to today, you still see that, right? And I'm sure there's some other explanations that are offered to how the rainbow appears, but it's such a cool thing to see a rainbow, right? So you can certainly appreciate and understand that God would have put it there, right? And that this certainly indicates why it's there, right? It's there as an indicator that God would not destroy the earth again by flood, right? So whenever you see the rainbow up there, it's like, okay, no flood coming today, right? Because there's the rainbow up there, right? And then the rest of this is just more or less the same, right? It says from 14, this is It'll come past my great cloud over the earth. You'll be able to see the rainbow in the cloud. I'm going to remember my covenant to not to destroy all flesh by water. The rainbow is in the cloud, and so I will look upon it, that I remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living thing. And God said, Noah, this is the token which I've established between me and all flesh is upon the earth. All right, so it's an agreement between God and people, and even the animals, even though the animals may not understand it, but it's that he's never going to destroy all living things by flood again.
And the sons of Noah that went forth of the ark were Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, and Ham is the father of Canaan. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and of them was the whole earth overspread. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard.
So now after the whole time on the ark, now it's time to get back to life, right, and then start over again. So here's Noah and his 3 sons, right, and it says that that Noah in particular says was a husbandman, right, and he was taking care of a vineyard, right, that he was overseeing a vineyard and would have grown grapes presumably to make wine and so forth, and so that was kind of the business he was starting out in. He was going to go ahead and grow things, perhaps for their own consumption, and then to eventually have that as a business that could be passed down. All right, so so he says he planted a vineyard to get that started. So obviously they had to start somewhere now. I mean, everything was destroyed, all the cattle and animals that were around, and any vineyards, the trees, everything had been destroyed. So now it was like all starting over again. And I guess it's mentioned in 19, mentions that these are the 3 sons of Noah. Of them was the whole earth overspread. In other words, of course, their children were now going to repopulate the earth at this point, right? Since everybody else was gone, so they were starting over with this family.
And he drank of the wine and was drunken, and he was uncovered within his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father, and told his 2 brethren without. And Shem and Japheth took a garment, and laid it upon both their shoulders, and went backward, and covered the nakedness of their father, and their faces were backward, and they saw not their father's nakedness.
This particular incident always struck me as odd, right? I'll just say, okay, just kind of an odd little episode thrown in here, right? That says that Noah was growing grapes and he was making wine, right? And so apparently he was drinking some of the wine, and he drank too much, and he got drunk, right? He got drunk and he passed out, and then somehow he passed out while he was naked, all right? Or at least whatever he was wearing was all showing everything, all right? So his son Ham, which was one of the 3 sons, right, I guess came into the tent and saw what he saw, right? And now, based on what's going to happen next, all right, it says he went out and told his 2 brothers, hey, you got to see this, all right? So based on what's going to happen next, it would almost sound like he was like almost maybe mocking or making fun of what he saw. Hey, come on, guys, you got to see this. Look at what he looks like, And so because then he tells them what he saw. All right, so but now the other 2 brothers, they were more respectful in this matter, right? As you see in 23, it says Shem and Japheth took a garment and put it on their shoulders and walked in backwards, so that way they weren't going to see what was going on. And you could just see them kind of here. Why don't you put this on, all right? And or in fact, actually, I guess he was still sleeping, so that they just basically went backwards until they could cover him, and then this way they weren't gawking at him while he was sleeping, and so forth, all right? So being more respectful to their father. So again, kind of a little unusual episode here, but now the next part, as I said, is it's going to be relate to that. So maybe that's why it's put in here for that reason.
And Noah awoke from his wine, and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. God shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant.
So it says when Noah woke up, he somehow found out what happened, right? And so he wasn't too happy with the one son that kind of made fun of his situation and was calling others in to look, right? So as it says that when 24 says he knew what his younger son had done, so he's putting like a curse on his descendants, all right? Saying that your whole family tree is going to be cursed because of what you did to me today, all right? So again, out of the three of them, they were each going to have like a family line. So he's saying that the line of Ham, all right, says Ham was the father of Canaan. So he says your whole line is going to be cursed now. You're going to be servants to the others, right? So he's saying that blessed be the God of Shem, which was one of the other sons. It says, and the Canaan, his sons are going to be your servants. And God's going to enlarge Japheth. It means his family will grow and so forth, right? And Canaan's going to be his servant. So basically saying that these two, their family line is going to be blessed, and the other one's going to just generate servants as a result. Get very interesting, and get over one incident, and even that Noah would be serving basically like as a prophet, right, to be able to now say that this is what's going to happen in the future with even their descendants. It's kind of extreme, right? Can't really explain why that would have been okay, but again, we don't know how people interacted with each other or what level of respect was expected. Maybe this was really violating some sacred thing. I don't know. That's why I always found this little episode kind of odd. It just kind of here God just saved Noah and his whole family because Noah in particular was the one righteous man to build around, and then here shortly after he's drunk and cursing his son, right? So it's an interesting turn of events here, right? But I mean, it's recording what the people did. So obviously nobody's perfect. So so you see what happened there.
And Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died.
It had been said earlier that Noah at the time of the flood was 600 years old. Right, and remember he started building the ark when he was about 480. It took 120 years, and he was 600 years old. So now as another 350 years have passed, which is a long time, and a lot of more people can be born or whatever, right? And then finally he dies at the age of 950, right? So he lived a nice long life also. Right? And then now we're going to see in the next couple chapters how the lifespan starts to reduced somewhat, right? Up to this point, it was still like in the 900 range for most of them, but that's not going to last forever. They're going to start to shorten that down more towards, closer to what we're accustomed to today.